Good morning, students. Welcome back to History Lecture. Today we are going to continue with our chapter number 5, Education. In previous lecture, we have already studied primary education, secondary education, then about the Mudliar Commission, then Kothari Commission, higher education. Then we have also studied about National Council of Education Research and Training, that is NCERT, and it was established in Delhi on 1st September 1961, and they are publishing the book to the ICSE board. Okay, so now let's see what we have in Maharashtra. In Maharashtra we have MSCERT, that is Maharashtra State Council of Education Research and Training, which was established in Pune. Okay, and what were its functions? To improving the standard of primary education, in service training to the teachers, training in the areas of syllabus and evaluation, vocational guidance for the students after standard 10th and standard 12th, exams and other educational functions. This institute is known as Academic Authority. It brings out a periodical called Edition. So it is very important. Maharashtra State Council, they publish one periodical, and the name of that periodical is Jeevan Shikshan. Now today we are going to continue with the National Policy on Education, year 1986. So this is very important policy that our government has made for the education. So all over the India there will be a same education. According to this policy, certain changes of fundamental nature were brought about in primary, secondary, and higher secondary education in keeping with the changing needs of society. As the changing needs of the society keep on changing, the same way we have to make a certain changes in the education system also. We have to make some changes in the primary, secondary, and higher secondary education, so it will be benefited to the society only. As we all know, in 2018 the 9th standard syllabus was changed, so we are learning the new syllabus. Okay, previously it was the another textbook, another topics were there. Okay, now we are learning something new. So they keep on changing. As the society keep changing, the education system also keep on changing. So they are making some changes in the education also, or in a textbook also, like in primary, secondary, and higher secondary education. Under this policy, a common core curriculum was framed for all states. And in this policy, they have framed common core curriculum for all the states. So there will be a similar syllabus, or the curriculum will be there for all the states. And why they have done this? The expectation is that by this means all students in India will get equal education opportunities. Why they have done? They have done the common core curriculum, or why they have framed the common core curriculum for all the states. So the expectation was, the idea was, like all the students in India will get a equal education opportunities. There is a scope in the national curriculum for individual state to bring in flexibility in accordance with their cultural, geographical, and historical needs. So whatever the curriculum or the syllabus a national policy of education has given, so according to the states you can bring the flexibility, you can make some changes. If you want to add something about your culture, if you want to add something about your geographical or according to your historical needs, so it is, the permission is given to you, you can add those things according to your states. For example, if you are going to take the example of Maharashtra, if the Maharashtra government, if they think that they want to include the about history of the Shivaji Maharaj, okay, because they want to preserve their culture or history, so there's a scope in the national curriculum for individual states. So each states they have this flexibility, so according to their needs, according to their state, they can preserve the culture, geographical, and historical needs, and according to that they can include all those things in their syllabus or the curriculum. So fully you cannot change the curriculum which is given by the national policy on education, you can make few changes in the curriculum pattern or the syllabus pattern. Next, the primary education curriculum in the year 1988 was prepared on the basis of the Plan of Action designed at the national level for the effective implementation of the National Policy on Education 1986. So, whatever they have planned in the policy of 1986, to implement that, they have prepared a action design plan, and that plan is known as Primary Education Curriculum 1988. So they have planned according to the National Policy of Education 1986. So why they have planned according to that? Because they want to see whether whatever they have planned, whether it is working effectively or not, and they want to implement that, and that is why they have prepared the Primary Education Curriculum 1988 on the basis of the plan action designed at the national level for the effective implementation of National Policy on Education 1986. So they want to implement this National Policy of 86, that is why they have planned in the year 1988. Now we are going to move to the do you know. The competency based Primary Education Curriculum 1995. Even as the Primary Education Curriculum 1988 was being implemented, a committee was formed at national level with Dr. H.R. Dave as its chairman to determine minimal levels of learning. The Dave Committee developed charts of minimum level of learning in language, mathematics, and environmental studies up to standard 5. The chart show the sequence of learning of the competence meant for each class. So even they have implemented the Primary Education Curriculum of 1988. They have also formed one committee, and the name of that committee was the Dave Committee. As I told you, the one who is the head of the committee or the policy, then that person names come to the committee. So the chairman of this committee was Dr. R.H. Dave, and that is why the name of the committee is Dave Committee. So what they have done, they have developed one chart of minimum level of learning in language, mathematics, and environmental studies, that is science, up to the standard 5th. And through that chart, they show the sequence of learning of competences meant for each class. Competences means like fact of having the ability or skill that needed for something, or in Hindi we called it kuch karne ki shamta. So they have seen the competences of learning for each class. Now we are going to move to the use of satellite. Now you all know what is satellite. Satellite is an electronic device that is seen into the space and moves around the earth or another planet for a particular purpose. Now you must be thinking, what is the use of satellite in education? The satellite is also played a very important role in education that we are going to study. Now from India, our Indian government has launched GSAT-3, also known as EduSat, was communication satellite which was launched on September 2000 by the Indian Space Research Organization. EduSat is the first Indian satellite built exclusively to serve the education sector. You can see the picture of EduSat on screen, also on page number 26 in your textbook. So let's begin. We are going to see the use of satellite in education, how the satellite is helping us in education, or satellites for education, that we are going to study. In the year 1975, India made with success in its attempt to use satellite for the purpose of education. So in the year 1975, they become successful to attempt the use of satellite for the purpose of education. Eknath Chitnis, a scientist with ISRO, play an important role in it. So the Eknath Chitnis, he played very important role in this satellite. So what is the use of this educational satellite or EduSat satellite? It is meant for distant classroom education for school level, to higher education. This was the first dedicated educational satellite that provided the country with satellite-based two-way communication to classroom for delivering educational material. So, by sitting at home, we can learn, and this was the motto behind that. As in urban area, the students, they are getting a better education, but what about the rural area? So that is why that was one program which our Indian government has undertaken. SITE, Satellite Instructional Television Experiment, was undertaken for the educational purpose under the leadership of Space Application Center at Ahmedabad. So, the Space Application Center at Ahmedabad, they have taken the responsibility of this satellite. The concept of satellite education came out of this experiment. America had helped India in this program. So, America also helped India in this program. The program helped to make provision for good standard of education in rural areas. As I told you, the standard of education they want to improve in the rural areas, and that is why they have came up with this idea. So by looking at this picture, you will come to know how the satellite is useful in educational matter in rural areas. Also, it is useful in urban areas also. Now next we are going to study, that is Indira Gandhi National Open University, that is IGNOU. Okay, so what is the Open University? As I told you earlier, Open University, it is no need to go to the college or a university. You can study at home also by taking the study material. If you are working, then there is no need of attending the regular classes. You can attend the class on weekdays like Sunday or Saturday. If you are a busy person, if you are working and you are not getting holidays, then you can take the study material and you can study at home. So that is called as a open university. So the one who is having a problem of money, they can also choose like open universities option. This open university was established with the objective that the stream of education should make its way into every average household of the country. So what is the objective of this open university? The objective of this open university that education should reach every house of our country, and that is why with this objective they have started the open university. Because of the financial condition, many people they drop the education and they start working. So the government has facilitated this open university. So with work you can also learn, also you can take the education also. Even many times what happened, the people are staying in rural areas. Every time they cannot travel to the urban areas for the university's purpose or for the educational purpose. For them also it is useful. So there is no need of regularly attending the classes, so they can take the study material and they can study at home. So that is the motto behind this, that education should reach every house of our country, and that is why they have started the open university. The United Nations had declared 1970 as the International Education Year. So the United Nations, they declare that the year 1970, they have declared that International Education Year. In the same year, a seminar was organized in New Delhi. So they also organized one seminar, and which was held in New Delhi. So all the departments like Open University by the Government of India Department of Education and Social Welfare, then Information and Broadcasting, University Grants Commission along with UNESCO, they have came together and they organized one seminar, and the subject or the topic of the seminar was the idea of establishing an open university. So after this seminar, our government also thought of starting the open university in India. And year 1974, the government appointed a committee under the chairmanship of P. Parthasarathi. An open university took shape on 20th September 1985 in accordance with its recommendation and suggestion. So after the seminar, there was a suggestion to start the open university in India, and To start that university or to work for the university, they have appointed one committee. And who was the chairman of that committee? Partha Sarthi. And when that committee was appointed? In the year 1974. And the Open University took shape on 20th September 1985. And after that, the Open University was started in the year 1985. It was named after Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, and the name given to the Open University as Indira Gandhi National Open University. As we all know, in the year 1984, Indira Gandhi was assassinated. Okay, so after 1 year, the Open University was established in the year 1985, and that is why they have given the name of Indira Gandhi to that Open University. Next, find out the Yashwantrao Chauhan Maharashtra Mukta Vidyapit was established in Nashik in the year 1989. Find out about this Open University with the help of the internet. So in Maharashtra also we have a university, Open University, and the name of that Open University is the Yashwantrao Chauhan Maharashtra Mukta Vidyapit, which was established in Nashik in the year 1989. Next, those who are unable to get a college education in the formal way are given concession in eligibility criteria, age, and other conditions for admission to this university. So, the one who has not got the chance in the college education in a formal way, they are getting the education in informal way in this colleges. Like formal way, like after 10th we will go to the college and then we will wear our uniform. Like a school life, we will have a college life. But there are many those who have not got this opportunity, so they can get the admission in this colleges and they don't have to wear the uniform and all. Even the concession is given its eligibility criteria like age and other conditions for the admission to this university. As we all know, when we are going to take the you all are going to experience this, or you may have experienced because your brother or sister maybe have taken the admission in colleges. So when we are taking the admission in colleges, that time we are they always see a percentage. Okay, even the age is important. Like if you're going to complete the 23 years and if you're going to take the admission in 11th standard, they will not give you admission in 11th standard if you're going to move to the regular college. But if you're going to move to the Open University, they will give you the admission in Open University. So the age bar or the eligibility criteria like percentage and all, because if you want to take the science, then the proper percentage are required. Okay, and like there are different criterias are there, eligibility are there. So they are saying all those things and then they are giving you the admission. Okay, but if you are going to move to the Open University, then there is no age bar. Okay, and they will give you the admission also. So in 1990, the IGNOU started an audiovisual distance education program through Akashvani and Doordarshan. So they also started the audiovisual distance education program through the Akashvani, that is radio, and through the Doordarshan, like a television channel. It conducted more than 1000 curricula of various branches. It provides facilities for education through 58 training centers in the country and 41 centers in the foreign countries. So in Open University, there are more than 1000 courses are available. And to provide the facilities for education, they have a start 58 training centers in a country. So we have a 58 training centers of this Open University in a country. Even they have a 41 centers in foreign countries. So the students can take the education in foreign countries also. Okay, now we will move to the next topic, that is research institute and science. As the country is developing or advancing, or we want to develop our country, then we have to do new research. And if we are not going to do the research, then we have to purchase the technology or the machinery from other country. And when we are going to purchase this from other country, then we have to invest more money in this. So because of it, it is very important for a country to conduct a research on itself instead of depending on other country. Now we all know we are in a coronavirus situation. Our country is trying its level best to find out the vaccination. There are many countries, they are doing their best to find out the vaccination. So the research is very important. So when we are going to do the research, definitely we will get a freedom from this situation. Okay, so there are many countries, those are behind this, they are searching and working hard towards it. They can get vaccination as early as possible. Many countries, they have got the vaccination, but still the trial is going on. Okay, so we hope for the best. We should get the vaccination as early as possible. So now let's move to our topic. In the post independence period in 1950, the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, that is CSIR, was established with the objective to promote scientific research in the country and to take benefits of the research to all the people. So after the post independence period in the year 1950, they have established one committee, and the name of that committee was Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. So they are undertaking various research in a country. And what is the objective of this commission or this committee? To undertake various scientific research in a country, in our own country, and whatever result is coming, that is a positive result, should be utilized for the benefit of the people, and that was the objective of this research center. Okay, for example, if we are going to take the example of agriculture, if someone is doing the research on pesticide, that is kitaknashak, so if they are going to get proper medicine on that pesticides, definitely it will help for the farmer, so he can take a good production in his farm. So whatever research they are undertaking, it should help the people, and that is the objective of this research center. Research began in fields like physics, chemistry, pharmaceuticals, means like medicine, food processing. Food processing means like how we can increase the food life, or for more time how we can store that food. Okay, so that is called as a food processing. Then we have a mining. In order that industry benefits from this research, contracts were signed with industrial institutes. So there are many contracts were signed with the Indian Institute. If they are going to do any research, and if they are going to found new technology, then it definitely will help the industry to increase their production. So that help to reduce imports and save foreign currency. And if the industrial uh, technology is going to improve, then there will be a more production, and it will save our money, and we will not import any goods from outside country, and it will save the foreign currency. This institute also motivated fundamental research, so they are also motivated to do the fundamental research. The laboratories of councils also played an important part in bringing back to the country students who had gone abroad for higher education. So there are many students, those who have taken education in India, and for the higher studies they have went to the abroad. So they are staying over there, as they are not getting the research opportunities, or they are not getting the higher education opportunities in India, and that is why they are staying over there. So when we are going to take a research program, it will definitely bring back all the students those who are living abroad. So definitely they will come over here, they will take the higher education from India, and they can also do the research. So when this program was started, there are many students those who have settled in outside country or abroad, they have came back to India, so they got the job opportunities, or they got the research opportunity. Next, the achievement of CSIR include making the ink used for making voters, fingers during elections, medicines for malaria, elephantiasis and tuberculosis, water purification technology, reductions in the time required for bamboo production. It also used DNA fingerprinting for the first time in India, conducting a genetic study of Adivasis of the Andamans, and proved that those tribes are 60,000 year old, and developed the earthquake early warning system. So now we are going to see the achievements of this research center, that is CSIR. The first thing is they have made the ink used for the voters. So many times when your parents going for a voting, that time you have seen on their fingers they have put the ink. So that ink they have invented. Or your younger sister or brother, you have seen when the doses, different doses they get, or the polio dose when they get, they always, you will find that they on their fingers they are putting one ink. So that ink they have invented. The next one is medicines for malaria, elephantiasis, and tuberculosis. So they have found the medicines. Next one is water purification technology. As we all know, the water is contaminated. Okay, and to purify that water, they have used different technology. They have introduced the different medicines also. Even they have introduced the machines also. Okay, new technology also they have introduced, so we can purify the water. Reduction in the time required for the bamboo production. As we all know, the bamboo tree is taking a many years to grow. So they have invented the new seed. So with the help of the seed, we will get the bamboo production within a year. The bamboo production will be, it will not take a time. It will not take a much time to produce. It also used DNA fingerprinting for the first time in India. Now this is very much important for the police, army, or the doctors if they want to find out any case, or if they want to track anyone, so they can take their DNA and they can find out the criminals. The next is conducting a genetic study of Adivasis of Andamans and prove that those tribes are 60,000 years old. So they have conducted a genetic studies of Adivasis, those are staying in Andaman, and after their study they come to know that those tribes are belonging to Andaman inhabitants. So they are more than 60,000 years old, and they are the real tribe which were staying at Andaman. So they also developed the earthquake and early warning system. So with the help of these people, as we all know, in the 2000 year when the tsunami had come in Sri Lanka and Andaman and Nicobar, near the Andaman and Nicobar island, that time those people have survived because they come to know about the tsunami before, and that is why they have moved to a safe place, and they all were safe, and they all were safe. So with the help of, they have developed the machines and the technology which will give us the early sign of the earthquake and tsunami. It has also played an important role in the use of neem as a pesticide. So as we all know, the neem we can use as a pesticide also. Use of turmeric for healing wounds. Whenever we have a wounds, whenever we fall down, many times what our parents are doing, they are putting, or whenever we have a cut on a finger, that time our parents are putting turmeric powder. So they come to know that the turmeric is useful for healing wounds. So from ancient times we all know the uses of this turmeric or the neem, but United States of America, they have taken the patent on it. Patent means the right on it, that we have developed the turmeric and neem as the pesticide or the healing wounds. The about the variety of the rice, as if we are going to say, from olden times the Indian people, they were using all those things, but the United Nation, they have taken a right that we have developed all those things. So the CSIR, they have fought against this, and they have taken the patent back to India, which was taken by the foreign countries. The CSIR has prepared a digital encyclopedia of Indian traditional knowledge and made it available in 8 international languages. So this, they have prepared one digital encyclopedia. Encyclopedia mean, we all know, it is a one type of book which gives us knowledge. So they have prepared the digital encyclopedia which will provide the knowledge about Indian tradition, and it made it available in 8 international languages. So that's all. Next we will continue in the next lecture.